Good evening. Welcome to the regular board meeting of the San Benito Consolidated Independent School District Board of Trustees. Today is Tuesday, August 13, 2013. The time is now 7:03. Item number 1, call to order and establish quorum. We do have a quorum. Item number 2, roll call. Please respond with present. Mr. Julian Huerta, Vice President. Present. Ms. June Aguilera, Secretary. Present. Ms. Ana Cruz, Trustee. Present. Ms. Fatima Huerta, Trustee. Present. Mr. Hector G. Leal, Trustee. Present. Mr. Oscar Medrano, Trustee. Present. Mr. Alfonso Obregon, Interim Superintendent of Schools. Present. Mr. Tony Torres, Attorney. Item number 3. And item number 4, Pledge of Allegiance to the U.S. and Texas flags and invocation. This evening, we have 2 students from Veterans Memorial Academy. I'd like to ask Hannah Juarez, please stand. Hannah Juarez is a freshman at San Benito Veterans Memorial Academy. She is a daughter of Tony and Tracy Juarez. She enjoys music and photography. She plans to attend the University of Texas at San Antonio and major in physical therapy. This evening, we also have Cassandra Montemayor. Cassandra Montemayor is a freshman at San Benito Veterans Memorial Academy, and she is the daughter of Linda Monsivais and Joe Montemayor. She enjoys sports, dancing, and music. She wants to major in journalism and attend the University of Michigan. These 2 students will be assisting us with the pledge and the invocation this evening. If everyone will please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Please bow your heads. Please let this school year be great and bless us and all San Benito staff. Let us have a good football season also. And thank you for letting us be here today. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
You may be seated. At this time, I'd like to ask if the parents are in the audience to please stand and be recognized as well. Also, I'd like to recognize our principal from Veterans Memorial Academy, Mr. Galvan. Thank you to the parents and thank you to Mr. Galvan for assisting with this evening's presentation. That brings us on to item number 5, Superintendent's Report. Mr. Obregon.
Pursuant to public policy and also established practice in the district, we have within the agenda an overnight trip that is being planned, and I'm sure all of you have had the time to look at the supportive data. If there aren't any questions, we'll move forward with this overnight trip. Okay, item B and C, of course, are the disbursements for the school district, and is part of the financial situations that this district is engaged in on daily, weekly, and monthly. We also have disbursements by organizations, which it identifies the various organizations, the types of disbursements that have occurred. If there's any questions, we'll gladly try to answer them. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Obregon. Item number 6, recommend approving the agenda of the regular board meeting of August 13, 2013 with any corrections or deletions. Do I have a motion to recommend approving the agenda? I have a motion by Mr. Medrano, seconded by Ms. Huerta. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7, public comment. The undersigned wishes to address the San Benito CISD Board of Trustees, and by his or her signature shows into the board that he or she understands the following provisions to addressing the board. The persons wishing to address the Board of Trustees must register with the presiding officer or designee no later than 5 minutes before the announced time of the school board meeting, shall state their full name, shall state what organization or group, if any, is being represented, shall state the topic they wish to address before the school board, shall refrain from commenting directly on any individual school district employee or public official by name, but may instead refer to a specific employment area, job title, or the Board of Trustees as a whole, and shall refrain from attacks on individuals. The persons wishing to address the Board of Trustees should do so in accordance with the following San Benito CISD Board Policy, BED, Board Meetings Public Participation Guidelines. Speakers will be allowed only 5 minutes to give his or her presentation. Delegations of more than 5 persons shall appoint 1 person to present their views before the Board of Trustees. Presentations shall be informative and shall pertain to school-related issues. Any attack on an individual shall be considered disruption of the meeting, and the Board of Trustees shall not deliberate or decide regarding any subject that is not included on the agenda posted with notice of the meeting. This evening, we do have 2 individuals in the audience that wish to participate, and I'd like to call upon Jesus Aguilera. His topic, Superintendent, Staff, and Kids.
You know, I agree with a board member who wants to fire the principal from Miller Jordan. You know, we need to fire her because she's holding all the bullies at Miller Jordan accountable. And also been suggested that she's selling jewelry during school hours. But before we do that, let's get rid of some of these other people first. How about this bus driver who texts that freshman? The soup said in the paper that it was a complimentary text. Explain to me why that freshman girl got off the bus, went crying to the security guard, and then went to the principal at VMA and reported him. What he didn't say in the paper was that, well, he did say that they gave him a 5-day suspension, but what he didn't say was that they told his wife was going to take the discipline at home because he was really going to get it. That's what he didn't put in the paper. Okay? Let's talk about the teacher from Miller Jordan who made a statement to some girls at the school. I've never seen 2 girls kiss. Another person we should fire is the director of federal programs. She used illegal funds. Illegally. She used the funds illegally. She corrected it, but she still used them. The chief of police. We should fire the chief of police, the head coach, and the superintendent for stopping a drug investigation because we had a football game to play. And I heard today that it's okay because the head coach went and apologized to that officer. Where's my superintendent over there? Let me tell you, we met, or he asked to meet with me in February on 800 and Rangerville Road to discuss how and what could we do to come to an agreement to buy him out. Board members, I'm here to tell you, don't buy him out. Fire him. Just plain fire him. He has failed to protect our children. He has used his office for personal gain, and we'll just call it, you've seen the movie Cheerleader Mom? well, we'll just call it Bell Dad. He knows what I'm talking about. And he also uses office for personal vendettas. You know, when you move teachers because they have upset one of your family members, and for that reason only, you know what? He abused his power. He harassed a Bell. And everybody here is aware of that. In closing, I'd just like to say that, you know, we have forgotten what we're here for, to educate our children and to protect them. And this superintendent has failed to do that. And the chief of police also, because he knew a lot of these things and he didn't come forward. He said, I turned in the reports to the soup. Chief, you're wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aguilera. Also wishing to participate in tonight's public comment, we have Rosalinda Garcia. Topic, taxpayers' monies, board policy, interim superintendent, and ethics.
Good evening. I'm going to be repetitious. An effective leader manages their time wisely, does long-term planning, and considers and values that other persons have commitments also. I bring this up again because I am asking that the board president adheres to part of the board policy that stipulates that meetings shall be held every second Tuesday of the month. And like I mentioned, you have a vice president whom you should have confidence in should you not be able to attend scheduled meetings. With this said, you have a vice president and the district has an assistant superintendent and a very dedicated, educated, intelligent employee, Mrs. Sanchez. Four board members voted to hire an interim superintendent at a rate of $700 and so per day. His pay matches Mr. Limon's salary. Mr. Limon, whom has worked with the district over 35 years. If there were any negotiations on his salary, I never read it in the paper. This was done after Mr. Limon was suspended by these four same board members. I asked myself, why did they not promote within and assign Mrs. Sanchez as interim superintendent or someone else? $700 so a day that would not have to be paid out. What also baffles me is how an insurance employee told you how she took a directive from the board president and signed Mr. Limon's signature to cancel the then insurance company. She files a grievance, and one of you says, what a great, outstanding employee she has been. Hire her back. On the other hand, I wonder why you don't have any confidence in our top two administrators. Back in 2012, I believe you hired a school attorney. You fired school attorney Gus Acevedo, who had served the district with Mr. Limon and a previous superintendent. But then you were dissatisfied with his services and hired O'Hanlon from Austin, who was highly recommended through TASB, Association of School Boards. You hire him, in a few months you're dissatisfied with his services. You hire the present attorney, but yet I never heard he was highly recommended. Maybe I missed it too. And I bring this up because I know you have to go to an outside counsel now to investigate Mr. Limon. I feel the present attorney could investigate, but it would take a lot of manpower, hours. You hire Mr. Obregon, the president says he is highly recommended. So that's why she recommended him, because he's highly recommended by TASB also. My question is now, these persons hired because they are recommended by TASB, but yet, like I said, I never heard this about the present attorney unless, like I said, I missed it. Now, let's talk about ethics. The school board president says that she wants things done in an ethical way. And she once went on to say, to clarify something about a credit card. I know what I heard on the policy meeting. I believe y'all were contemplating on a credit card for y'all's use, but they recommended this wasn't a wise thing to do. And it's good that things are done on an ethical way, but was it ethical to purchase Androids from the fathers, from Mr. Aguilera? Was that ethical? I don't know. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 8, action agenda. In order to promote efficient meetings, the board may act upon more than one item by a single vote through the use of consent agenda. Consent items placed on the agenda shall be marked with an asterisk. Consent items are items for which no board discussion is anticipated and for which the superintendent recommends approval. Prior to the time which approval of consent agenda is had, at the request of any member of the Board of Trustees, any item on the consent agenda shall be removed and given individual consideration. Under Business and Finance, 1308A-1, request for approval of signature cards for CISD bank accounts. Consent. 1308A-2, request for approval of certificate for order authorizing the issuance of bonds. Consent. 1308A-3, request for approval of bids on the following items: A, office supplies; B, teaching and/or instructional supplies. Consent. 1308A-4, request for approval of bid proposals on the following HVAC parts and supplies: A, small parts; B, supplies; C, small equipment; D, large electric motors; E, condenser coils; F, labor for chiller; G, labor for controls work. Consent. 1308A-5, request to approve repairs to bleachers at Berta Cavazza Middle School and Veterans Memorial Academy. Consent. 1308A-6, request for approval of proposal on stop-loss insurance.
Question.
Question. 1308A-7, request for approval of bids on paint products and supplies. Consent. 1308A-8, request for approval of 2012-2013 budget amendments. Consent. 1308A-9, request for approval of budget transfers. Consent. Under Curriculum and Instruction, 1308A-10, request for approval of the San Benito CISD District Improvement Plan for the 2013-2014 school year. Consent. 1308A-11, request for approval of Memorandum of Understanding between Rio Grande Valley Chapter IEC Incorporated and San Benito CISD. Consent. 1308A-12, request for approval of contract with TSTC Harlingen and the Challenger Learning Center of the Rio Grande Valley for the 2013-2014 school year. Consent. Under Administration, 1308A-13, request for approval of board minutes. Consent. 1308A-14, request for approval of the 2013-2014 Optional Flexible School Day Program, OFSDP application. Consent. 1308A-15, request for approval of the 2013-2014 Student Code of Conduct. Consent. 1308A-16, request for approval of Board Policy Update 97. Consent. I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the following items: 1308A-1, 1308A-2, 1308A-3, 1308A-4, 1308A-5, 1308A-7, 1308A-8, 1308A-9, 1308A-10, 1308A-11, 1308A-12, 1308A-13, 1308A-14, 1308A-15, and 1308A-16.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Leal, seconded by Mr. Huerta. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries, which brings us back to the item in question, 1308A-6, request for approval of proposal on stop-loss insurance.
I have a question for Mr. Garcia. Mr. Garcia, during the Finance Committee meeting, I failed to ask this question. We are giving the stop-loss insurance contract to what company? Can you refresh me?
Well, it was turned in by an insurance agent,
Who's the insurance agent?
Salazar Insurance Group.
Okay,
He submitted two proposals, one provided by the insurance company HCC and the other one by Legend Insurance
Okay.
Agency.
correct. Okay, one question that I asked, or I take it back, it wasn't me that had made this question, it was Mr. Medrano, is whether there was a commission
Yes.
going to whoever we were purchasing the insurance, and you said yes.
Yes.
Okay. I think before, last year, we took away the commission from Mr. Trevino because we didn't have to pay a commission. And you stated to us at the Finance Committee meeting that Salazar was going to get 10% commission for this stop-loss insurance. And that with Trevino, we're going to save $100,000. Why is it that we're not saving $100,000 from this insurance agent, and why are we paying him a commission when you stated before that it wasn't necessary for commissions to be paid out to these insurance vendors?
Adrian, do you mind if I say something real
Well,
quick
the
before you
question
start?
is to Mr. Garcia.
No, no, it's not a
I'd
question
like
or an
to-
answer. I'm just going to make a statement.
Mr., can you please just answer my question? And then,
Mr.
with all
Garcia.
due respect, I'll let you
Mr.
speak.
Garcia, I'll go ahead and allow you to respond to her question, but I also have another board member who wishes to comment. So I'm going to go ahead and allow Ms. Aguilera to go ahead and comment, and then we can refer back to her question.
Okay, my only thing is I'm the one that took away, I'm the only one that argued to take away the commission because some of the other board members were in favor of paying commission to somebody who was not doing the job, which is why his commission was taken away. And I felt that it needed to be taken away because Janie, our director here, was doing the job that they were supposed to be doing. So I don't agree with somebody getting paid commission, banking on it and not doing the job. That's why I voted to take away the commission. Now, if I'm not mistaken, if this is paid, Janie will no longer have the job to do. It'll actually be the company that gets up and does their job. So my thing is that yes, where I was the one that did argue the whole commission off, but because Mr. Trevino wasn't doing his job in the first place, he was allowing our staff to do the job for him and banking in on our money. So we were paying him to do nothing. If you pay now this company, then they're gonna be in charge of doing that. You're paying them for their services. And no longer does it fall on our directors, nor do we have the liability of the district that something gets done mistakenly. So that's my comment before
wasn't-
we go forward, and then you can have the question
That
answered.
wasn't the deal that we agreed on. You remember? We agreed that the commission was gonna come back to, or whatever, but.
Because he wasn't doing it, because we had to pay them because they were doing his job.
That wasn't.
I
the
know.
deal.
That's how the district was
That's
run.
not what I recall either, because the issue, this was made into a big issue because you specifically said that we would be able to save $100,000, and you also mentioned that you had mentioned this to the superintendent, that because you were concerned about this 10% commission, that was not, I mean, we weren't required to pay it. And so now we're paying Salazar Insurance a 10% commission? I don't understand.
Okay,
And
Adrian.
the justification as far as,
Okay.
excuse me, and with all due respect, is, well, if Mrs. Gonzalez was doing all the job, or taking care of all the job that Trevino was supposed to have been taking care of, I mean, that doesn't make sense.
Complaints were made, and that's why he was fired.
Adrian, just to clarify, I know I recall correctly from last year, we did have Bob Trevino handling the stop loss, and he was collecting the commission, but district personnel were handling the matters. They were the ones that were doing the job, and somebody was reaping the benefits of the job that our staff was doing, if that's the way I recall correctly, right?
Yeah, that's what
Okay, so now that Janie was doing all the job, it was taken away from her overseeing other duties. So now she's having to manage stop loss and she's having to manage the regular insurance, is that correct?
I do
Okay,
not
and
recall
then-
that.
Okay, I've got the floor right now, Ms. Cruz.
With all due respect.
Okay, and so then, right now, what we have in question is the fact that we're going to be paying the commission, but if I recall correctly, like we discussed in the finance meeting as well, the RFP, that was already built in to the RFQ, correct? And that's why the proposals were submitted with the commission already built in. That's what we were told at the finance meeting, correct?
Okay, yes.
Okay. Now, is Glenn Hilliard here? Mr. Glenn?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Glenn, can you come forward, please?
Can we also have Janie, just so you're already up here?
Mr. Hilliard, you mentioned to us at the finance meeting that the commission was already built in because that's the way the proposal was given out and advertised.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
Do you want to go ahead and give us some feedback as far as who's going to handle and why the commission was built in?
Well, and actually, to be fair, last year, that really wasn't Adrian's recommendation, it was mine, okay? And the reason it's different is because the way the plan was set up last year, first of all, what Ms. Aguilera said on the agent was absolutely 100% correct. They were not providing any service for this product, okay? Now, the agent we have, which is SIG, and Janie can speak to this, is showing up 3 days a week, helping the staff, actually doing what they're supposed to be doing and earning their money. These guys also put the claim in. So you do have the liability issue, but the other issue is, with the last plan we had with Blue Cross Blue Shield, they would not let ING, which was the stop loss, file with them direct. So this is a much smoother transition because ABA, which is your current administrator, will file directly with Westlaco, so we can get out of the liability, and we can also free her up to do more jobs. We have wellness we have to attack. We have this managed care plan, and I have full faith that SIG will do a good job and track all this stuff, transfer the liability to them, and free her up to do her job better and more effectively in other areas. That's my opinion.
And more so if they don't do their job, then the board will definitely hold them accountable.
Absolutely.
And they'll, because that's what their job is to do. That's what they're being paid to do.
Absolutely.
Jamie, if you don't mind, last year when we had Bob Trevino, you were the one that was doing all the,
Yes, ma'am, I was.
what is it that you had to do? What is it that you
Actually, like Glenn said, any stop-loss policy, if it didn't belong to Blue Cross Blue Shield, they only work with their own company stop-loss. And they said that they were not going to be working with our stop-loss whatsoever. It was up to us to take care of the large claims, and we're talking about any claims that are over $100,000. I have to file every claim that's over $100,000, and I have to make sure that the data that I do get from Blue Cross was concise, and I also have to have the prognosis, the diagnosis, which I don't like to have that in my computer. I don't like to have that on file because anything can happen. Therefore, I still needed to do that because Bob Trevino's office never wanted to do the stop loss for us. They've never done it in all the years that they've been with us.
But they were getting the commission for it.
Absolutely. They've been getting the commission, I don't know for how long. But another case that we did have, which I want to let y'all know, is we did have a third-party administrator back in years ago, and they failed to file a stop-loss policy. We ended up suing them. And the good thing about it was they were the ones that were liable. We ended up winning the lawsuit. We got all our money back. And that's what I would really like to prevent from happening is in the event that we do have a large claim that has not been filed, that I might not be made aware of, that they're all filed and we get all our money back.
So it makes it to where the district's not as liable. It wouldn't no longer fall on you because basically they were getting the commission, but you were doing the job.
Right.
Aside from the job that you already do. and
Right,
that
it's
your
just
job's-
my main concern really is not the work. My main concern is just the liability, that it doesn't fall on us. And with all these changes that are going on, we're gonna have the managed care, we're out on an RFP for the clinic. So we've got a lot of stuff going on that, it's a little scary, actually. So, I'm really concerned about it, and I would feel really comfortable if someone else were to handle that big job for us.
Because it's technically not your job to handle those. It's on those companies. to
I
do.
can do whatever you all tell me to do.
We agree.
I will do whatever y'all want me to do. I can still do it. I can still file claims, large claims. I can work together with a TPA, whatever y'all prefer. My only issue is, like I said, is a major liability that the school district would be responsible
We
for.
agreed that the commission was gonna come back to us, right, or whatever. I'm just saying that.
I don't know. I
that-
was not here during that time,
yeah.
so I
That's
don't know what to tell you.
That was what the issue was, that we were going to save money and that it was no longer required. It's not required for a district to have to pay that 10% commission. And I clearly remember you stating that, Mr. Garcia. That's the reason I'm confused about this 10%. I understand all of this
Yeah.
about
The
the work
requirement,
and all that,
right.
but as far as the 10%, you said we could have $100,000 in the bank.
Actually, it was
We don't-
12% last year, and the requirement, there is no requirement. It's optional. It's always an option.
Okay, so it's an option to pay the 10%?
It's always an option. You
Okay,
can
then
always
why do we
negotiate.
need to pay? If we don't, if we have that option, we can save money by not paying that 10%.
I agree,
Okay.
but like I said before, I would not like that major liability, even though it's been on my hands for several years. Like I said, we're going through a
Okay,
whole lot
when
of
that-
changes
when
right now.
that 10% was taken away from Mr. Trevino, how long were we?
Just last year.
It was
Yes, but all
12%.
this year. It was, how long were we not paying that 10%?
We've never paid it for the 2012, 2013 policy.
Okay,
There's
and
no
were
commissions
there
paid
any-
whatsoever.
Were there any problems that
We just have to-
happened?
Not that I know of, but we just have to wait and see, like on that case that we had with the NBA, I think it was like maybe 3 years later.
So in other words, if they don't get their commission, they don't do the work?
So,
That's what I'm
because-
understanding.
Okay,
What you're saying?
Is
they
that
don't
what
do-
you're
but
saying?
you also need to recall,
I don't
Board,
know whether
you'll
they
need
do
to
some
recall
work, they do the health
that
insurance work, they've never worked.
service
Never.
This
will
is-
not be
we're talking
done
about
if it's not
stop-loss.
compensated. Nobody works for free.
Stop-loss insurance is what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
they've never, in the 12 years, actually 12 years that Bob Trevino has had our stop loss, which has been over $1 million with a 10 or 12% commission, they have never, ever done any work for the stop loss.
Okay, well, I understood something different from Mr. Garcia, because he was being very protective about our district money, and so therefore, that was my question, which it still doesn't make any sense. But I guess I can get together with Mr. Garcia later on, and maybe we can sit down and you can show me, and you can also show me as far as how much Mr. Salazar is getting. I want to know what kind of work he's doing also, and I want to see actual documentation of his work.
Now, you just mentioned we're talking about stop loss, correct?
Well, if this is
Or are
what we're
you
talking
talking
about,
about
stop loss.
something
Well,
else
well,
now?
that's what I'm
Okay,
saying.
he has
because
not
you're-
done any work with the stop loss.
Okay, then why is
Because
he
we
getting
don't
the
have,
commission?
we don't have an agent for a
Is
stop
he getting the
loss.
commission right now?
There's no agent for the stop loss as we speak.
But
For the-
he's
for the
getting, you
year-
mentioned that Salazar is going to get 10%.
That'll
of
be
that.
effective October the 1st of 2013.
And even then, that's what I'm saying. First, we're not paying it, and now we're going to pay it for this individual?
It's whatever y'all decide. It's
It
y'all's
doesn't,
option.
it's just not very clear to me, and like I said, maybe I don't understand all your duties, and I'm not saying you don't do your job, you've been here a long time, but at the same time, I want to be clear about what we're paying out to different individuals. That's my concern.
Okay, I
Well,
just
I'll
want
tell
to,
you right now, we even have the health insurance, and,
But we're not talking about the health insurance, we're
well,
talking about the
but I am
stop-loss
talking about
insurance.
the health insurance, and they've never done anything either, so, you know, it coincides together with the stop-loss. You know what I'm saying? The health insurance coincides with the stop-loss as far as your large claims that are over $100,000. So, it's always been handled by
Yes.
us.
Mr.
And I
Garcia,
understand.
Don't you owe something to Anna? Didn't you ask for paperwork
Yeah.
at the
I
finance committee?
remember her asking, you wanted
She asked for-
the company's
Yeah, I
ratings.
submitted it.
You submitted
I
it?
never got it.
I submitted it to the superintendent.
I never got it.
Oh,
He was out of town the following
Oh,
day
okay.
or that during, so I wrote a memo to the superintendent regarding that Ana Cruz had requested some information.
I never
So
received it.
I'm just following
did you get a
the
memo?
procedure
Did you
here.
get a memo, Mr. Obregon?
If I did, I don't recall, because I get so many memorandums on this one, but sometimes they go through Mary Johnston, and it takes a day or two to put them on my desk, then I'll read them, then I'll send them back to the
Yes,
appropriate filing.
I
But
gave-
whatever
I
you said on
left
that,
it-
you know,
I left it at Mary Johnson's.
Okay.
With Mary Johnson.
Do you have it in your office?
Yeah,
Can you print it out for her so she can already have it?
it would be a good idea to get that memorandum, since it's in question, and just email it to everybody. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
I can bring one over.
You know, I'm not against the stop-loss insurance. I'm just, I'm not comfortable with that 10%. That's it. Because, once again, we took it away from one individual, and now we're giving it to somebody else. And I'd like to state, I have nothing against Salazar Insurance or Mr. Trevino. My concern is if we can save $100,000, let's save it, just the way you stated to us months ago during one of our meetings here.
But even
So
then, you
that's my
fought it.
concern.
okay, so with that said, I just want to go ahead and recap, and correct me if I'm wrong, okay? If we approve the stop-loss insurance tonight, the liability will fall on the third-party administrator, and that will serve as a sense of security for the district. And although we may not be saving the money that we would be saving with the commission, we will be protecting the district in the event that there's anything in question, because the service will be provided by the third-party administrator and not so much by our staff, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so with that said, I want to go ahead and make a motion to
I
request.
want to make a question real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. What, correction. Bob Trevino, what type of commission do we pay him? Because I think Anna said 10, but if I recall correctly, it was 12.
It was 12%.
So it was more, and it was
It was
still fought
12%.
And
by
you
some
know,
of
it
the board.
doesn't matter, you know.
But that's what I'm saying, I'm just
it's
trying to make the facts
10%,
straight,
you know,
because the facts are all
10%
off.
or 12%, when it's a commission,
I understand.
it's a lot of money.
It was
That's
just, I was just answering her
You know.
question.
Question, but no, but that's what I'm saying, I'm just making sure that the facts are actually out there. It was much like the lawyer when you made the mistake on the fees. You know, I just want to make it clear so that way that our public knows that we're paying them 12 and you had said 10, you know, but we were paying them more.
$100,000, it's a lot. That's all I have to, whether it's 10% or 12%, that's my point. I'm not arguing percents here. I'm just arguing the fact that if we don't need to pay commission, then let's not pay it. But I'm not against the stop-loss insurance. If we have to have it, we need to vote on it. But I am concerned, I'm not comfortable with that 10%.
Okay,
That's all I can say.
I'd like to go ahead and make a motion for the approval of proposal on the stop-loss insurance. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Ms. Aguilera. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9, closed meeting, discussion under the authority of the Texas Government Code 551.074 for the purpose of the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, to hear complaints or charges against a public officer or employee. A, report on personnel. B, discussion and/or possible action on reinstating Mr. Antonio G. Limon to his position of superintendent of schools. C, discussion and/or possible action of extending the contract for Coach Spencer Gant, athletic director, head football coach. And D, employment and resignations. The time is now 7:43 and we are in executive. Good evening, we're returning from closed meeting. The time is now 9:08. Item A, action on items discussed in closed session. Mr. Obregon, A and D pertain to you.
Board of Trustees, I recommend that the board approve the attached list of employment of teachers and also approve the attached list of resignation of personnel.
I have a motion to accept the recommendations by Mr. Obregon regarding personnel, employment, and resignations. Motion made by Mr. Medrano, seconded by Ms. Aguilera and Mr. Huerta. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Item B, discussion and/or possible action of reinstating Mr. Antonio G. Limon to his position of Superintendent of Schools.
Yes, Madam President, I move to reinstate Mr. Limon to the Superintendent of Schools.
Second it.
I have a motion on the floor to go ahead and reinstate Mr. Limon to his position of Superintendent of Schools. Motion made by Mr. Medrano, seconded by Ms. Cruz. All those in favor? All those opposed?
Nay.
Vote is 3-4. Brings us on to item C, discussion and/or possible action of extending the contract for Coach Spencer Gant, Athletic Director, Head Football Coach, and as discussed in executive, we will not be taking action on this item. Which brings us now on to item number 10. The time is now 9:10, and we are adjourned.